our method of gathering the news has not changed particularly. I think there are more outlets for us to monitor, whereby before we'd be looking at news wires. Now often news can break first on social media. Twitter is often like a early first indicator of something that's going on. But that hasn't changed our news gathering process, because as a news outlet, we are always focused on getting the original source. So regardless of whether something breaks on Twitter or there's more platforms for us to observe. But our method of news gathering hasn't changed, because we still always prefer to get the news from the original source or from two reliable sources. You must make it immediately obvious to the people who are reading it what the point of the interview is. Why do we care? What is the event? What is the piece of news? Why should we talk to this person at this time? Then I would move on to what kind of value does that person add? What are the talking points that they can discuss? When are they available? And what is the hook to us? It always helps if there's a news peg, or if it's a very topical subject that we are covering in our wider news coverage.
Journalists these days, depends on who you're dealing with, they tend to be less specialized in one area, in one single area. So when you pitch them stories, you got to take a more macro views on things, right? So in the past, let's say when I was a journalist, to give you an example, right, at the Morning Post, we have 4 people doing banking. Right, they now have 1.5. Right, so the thing is, when you talk to reporters these days, you just gotta follow their thoughts and try to not just really focus the entire conversation in one specific area, but rather you gotta give them a lot more to put in their stories.
Timing is very important in pitching to the media. I would say that, first of all, as much heads up that you can give a network or an outlet as possible. But also, I think timing within the working day is important. For us at CNBC, the window is probably from about 7 till 3, the hours that we're in the office and we're focused on reading our emails, particularly if you're having an email pitch.
I think there's some universal truth that has been the truth for many years. One of them is don't give false information, don't exaggerate things. Right? You can try and say different things in different ways, in nicer ways, but don't lie. Okay? Reporters are not stupid.
I think the things that get rejected straight away at CNBC are things that are not relevant to our audience. Things that we would consider to be too soft, perhaps, not relevant. Has no business angle. That's usually the first criteria.
I was a reporter for 15 years, and I think I'm in a position to say that most reporters are pretty impatient, and they should be, right? Because they live in a very fast-paced environment, right? An analogy that I like to use is, imagine if you are just pitching for a story about a property project. Right? You don't really have to explain to people that, hey, you actually need a place to live in, right? Because we're human beings, right? But then for new technologies, new products, there's this multiple layers of explanation that you need to do.
If you don't get follow-up, if you followed all those rules and you don't get follow-up, you are within your rights to give a call to the journalist and say, hey, did you see my press release? Have you seen my pitch? I think one follow-up call is fine. And if you want to ask for feedback on why it didn't get on air, that's also perfectly reasonable.